Hey everyone! Have you ever caught yourself rewriting an email for the third time because the first two versions just weren't perfect? Or maybe you've spent hours trying to get every little detail of a project right only to feel like it's never good enough. Yeah, you might be dealing with perfectionism. But here's the kicker. Perfectionism doesn't lead to perfection. It leads to burnout, stress, and procrastination. You know, all the fun stuff that no one really wants. So today we're going to break down this sneaky little trap and figure out how to embrace imperfection and still thrive. Sound good? Let's jump in. First things first, what exactly is perfectionism? It's not about having high standards. High standards are great. We need them to achieve excellence. But perfectionism takes that and cranks it up to an unhealthy level. It's when your worth gets tied up in how flawless you think your work is. It's when good enough is never good enough and every mistake feels like a personal failure. The trap here? You become paralyzed. Instead of moving forward, you get stuck in a loop of endless tweaking and overthinking. And guess what? Life keeps moving. Deadlines keep passing. And opportunities get missed because you're busy chasing some mythical perfect version of reality that doesn't exist. Ironically, perfectionism often leads to less than perfect results. When you obsess over details, you waste time, miss deadlines, and end up delivering a project that's either late or unfinished. It's like trying to run a marathon while carrying a giant boulder on your back. Sure, you're moving, but you're not getting anywhere fast. Perfectionism also messes with your creativity. When you're afraid of making mistakes, you stop taking risks. You play it safe, and in doing so, you lose out on the innovation that comes from trial and error. Mistakes, as cliche as it sounds, are how we learn and grow. Now, if this hits home, don't worry. We're going to talk about how to get out of this trap. Let's start by redefining success. Instead of aiming for perfection, aim for progress. Think of your work like a draft rather than the final product. Ask yourself, is this better than it was an hour ago? If the answer is yes, you're moving in the right direction. Remember, incremental improvement is more sustainable and realistic than waiting for a flawless masterpiece to emerge. A good mantra here is, done is better than perfect. Yes, this will be tough to swallow if you lived your life by the motto, perfect or bust. But trust me, adopting this mindset will free up so much mental energy you won't know what to do with yourself. Maybe you'll finally start that hobby you've been putting off for years. Look, life is messy. Progress is messy. You can't escape that. Think of a painter working on a canvas. They don't obsess over every single brushstroke before moving on to the next one. They step back, assess the big picture, and adjust as they go. The masterpiece only comes after embracing the messy middle. Apply that to your life. Whether you're working on a career goal, a personal project, or even a relationship, give yourself permission to be messy and make mistakes. You'll still get to your destination, but without all the frustration of trying to color inside the lines every step of the way. Perfectionists often set unrealistic expectations for themselves. You know the drill. I should be able to finish this in one day, or I should never make a mistake. These kinds of thoughts are setting you up for failure. The truth is, most things in life take longer than we expect, and mistakes are part of the process. Instead, aim for good enough. Now, before you recoil in horror at the idea of settling for mediocrity, let me clarify. Good enough doesn't mean sloppy or lazy. It means doing the best you can with the resources you have, and then letting it go. It's recognizing that there's no such thing as perfect, so why not just do your best and move on? Perfectionists are often their own worst critics. If this sounds familiar, it's time to practice some self-compassion. When you make a mistake or don't meet your own, often impossible, standards, treat yourself like you would treat a friend. You wouldn't berate them for a small misstep, right? So why do it to yourself? Self-compassion isn't about giving yourself a free pass to slack off. It's about recognizing that you're human. Everyone makes mistakes, and those mistakes don't define you. They're just part of the journey. Let me share a story about a friend of mine. He was a textbook perfectionist. Let's call him John. John was an amazing designer, but he never finished anything. He would start projects, obsess over every detail, and then abandon them because they didn't meet his impossibly high standards. One day, John decided to try something radical. He gave himself a time limit on a project, 24 hours to create something, finish it, and send it into the world. No extensions, no tweaks, no endless revisions. And guess what? It wasn't perfect, but it was good. Good enough to launch, good enough to get feedback, and good enough to start moving him toward bigger and better things. John's business started growing because he was no longer paralyzed by perfectionism. He got things done. His work wasn't always flawless, but it was out there making an impact. And isn't that the whole point? So here's the bottom line. Perfectionism isn't something to strive for. It's something to overcome. The world doesn't need your perfect work. It just needs your work. If you're constantly waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect product, or the perfect version of yourself, you're going to be waiting a long time. Instead, focus on progress. Focus on learning from mistakes. Focus on being kind to yourself when things don't go exactly as planned. And most importantly, remember that thriving isn't about doing everything perfectly. It's about embracing imperfection and moving forward anyway. So next time you catch yourself stuck in that perfectionism loop, just ask yourself, is this good enough to keep moving? Chances are it is. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who still thinks being perfect is a thing. Thanks for watching, and remember, done is better than perfect. See you next time.